Following on from my video last week looking at the Diamond Select Klingon Bird of Prey, I thought it might be fun to look at another Klingon model, this time from Playmates toys. Playmates never made a scaled down model of the Klingon Bird of Prey, but they did, however, do one for the Attack Cruiser. Now, the Attack Cruiser was created especially for the next generation, and it would go on to feature in episodes of Deep Space Nine as well. Now, essentially, this was an updated version, a 24th century version of the Klingon Attack Cruiser that we'd seen both in the original series and the films up to this point. Now, despite having quite a healthy line of starships in their model line, Playmates starships definitely seem to have been much harder to get a hold of, and in recent years they've become much more scarce and their price has rocketed. So let's travel back to 1993 and see just what kind of a job Playmates did. Well, for starters, it comes in a nice big box. The length of this box is roughly about 50 centimeters long, but less than 10 centimeters wide if we put the box on its side. This inadvertently makes it quite collector friendly, meaning we have quite a nice surface area for display, but it doesn't take up too much space, if you're thinking about stacking these up or putting them in crates. And speaking of display, this is fantastic artwork for the front of this box. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It is of course illustrated, but it is so nicely coloured. It's a really exciting image. We have it obviously zooming through space there, and it looks really colourful, it looks really fun, and of course the background having those various colours, those various purples and blues in that sort of nebula star field is brilliant. And of course we have the planets there as well, which all gives us a sense of dimension, but also makes it look super fun and exciting. The reverse is a lot flatter and more functional. It is just a blue background there with a photo of the toy itself, pointing out all the various features and other toys in the line. Now, the model is all in one piece. It doesn't require any assembly when you take it out of the box. It is ready to go. And the focus here is very much on making this a toy for children to play with. So you may be surprised to find that the ship doesn't actually come with a stand, so that makes things a little bit difficult when it comes to display. You're going to have to improvise the way I have done. But I have to say, as first impressions go, this is a really strong one. For starters, this looks to be a pretty authentic model. It's moulded in a light green plastic, and there's a lot of attention to detail and accuracy in the sculpting. All the little various panels, rivets, bits and pieces that make up the ship's hull looks absolutely authentic, and it looks really, really nicely rendered. There's not an awful lot of paint washes or paint applications on this ship, but where they are, they're used very effectively. Certain panels have a lighter green wash running over them, making them just stand out a little bit, creating a little bit of a contrast in tone between the two shades of green. And this is then complemented by the odd splash of red, yellow and white here and there, used strategically throughout the model to really complement the entire aesthetic and look and design of the vehicle. And it works really very nicely, making this quite attractive and colourful without ever feeling too much or garish. There's also a couple of well-placed stickers on either wing, which adds a little bit of character, a little bit more colour and a little bit more pizzazz to the vehicle. Now, all in all, I'd say there's a certain toyetic quality to this model, but I don't mean to diminish the sculpting or the paint applications in any way, because I think they've done an absolute tremendous job, and it would definitely rival anything that could be produced even today. I think if it was being produced today for the adult collector, I think there might be one or two extra little tweaks just to the paints here and there, just to really capitalise on the fantastic sculpting. But other than that, I really could not fault this. I think they've done a fantastic job of rendering this in a really fun, but also collector-friendly displayable model. And to go one better, it does also include electronic lights and sounds. And there are 4 buttons on the neck of the ship, and if you press each of these, you'll have a different sound effect, and you can trigger some of the light effects as well. Now, sadly, although the sounds still work very well on mine, the lights no longer seem to work. There is a very dim flickering of life left in them somewhere, but sadly, not enough to display on camera or make much of an impression. So unfortunately, I can't demo that to you too much, but suffice it to say, the lights do shine up on the nacelles of the ship, and I think once upon a time this would have been very, very impressive. But for now, all I can demonstrate to you is the 4 sound effects. So then, in terms of final thoughts, I really like this model. I think it's really fun. I think they've done a fantastic job of bringing this down to a healthy scale that a child could play with, but funnily enough, all these years later, that a collector can still legitimately put on display and still have a fantastic looking attack cruiser from the Next Generation era of Star Trek. The added lights and sounds, of course, make all the difference. I think the sound effects are fantastic, and I do believe that if you can get one that has the working lights, then this is obviously a huge bonus that makes it really much more dynamic and a much more visual treat. But even without those features, I still think this is a wonderful model to put on display and well worth tracking down. Now, I should say, in terms of how they scale, they are slightly smaller. They're not quite in scale with the Starship Legends line from Diamond Select Toys, so if you are hoping to have them together, then obviously you're going to notice a pretty sizable difference there. But nevertheless, a really fun one to add to the collection, and I think it represents a really good example of Playmates at their best. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, and remember to subscribe, as there'll be plenty more videos soon.